This past April, UVM hosted a Super Bowl of sorts, a FIRST Robotics competition district qualifier. Across the Fence has been reporting on Vermont's robotics program for several years. Vermont elementary and high school, as well as 4-H clubs, have taken the FIRST Robotics Challenge, and today we'll find out how all that programming has paid off for a Vermont first. Good afternoon and welcome to Across the Fence. I'm Jolie Whitney. FIRST is the world's leading youth-serving nonprofit advancing STEM education. This organization has been sponsoring efforts in Vermont to teach and empower students of all ages to build and program robots. Kids start out building robots out of Legos before advancing to engineer and design robotics from their own imaginations. One of the leaders of this effort with FIRST Robotics in Vermont is our guest today. Mark Drapa has been teaching kids to build robots for several years. He's led teams from Westford Elementary to first place finishes since 2016 and is board president of FIRST in Vermont. Welcome, Mark.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us in, and we're actually going to watch a little bit of this competition, some behind the scenes. But first, tell us a little bit why this event was so important to you in the first place.
Well, FIRST Robotics is a progression of 3 different programs ranging from ages K through 12, grades K through 12. And this particular one here is around high school students. So we've had programs going in Vermont for over 10 years. But 3 years ago, the FIRST in Vermont organization was formed and really put some strength around growing those communities. That led to a boom in all of our student population. And now we've got teams all over the state, which brought about the need for this particular event. So teams would traditionally have to travel out of state to compete in this high school level, and now we've had our first home game, which is really amazing. The other big milestone is that now we've got the full program in front of us and all students can participate in Vermont.
And you were one of the pioneers who started teaching students how to build Legos, or robots out of Legos, I should say. So talk about what it means kind of seeing this competition a little closer to home.
So walking in and seeing 500 of New England's best and brightest students competing was quite amazing. But for me, definitely recognizing that a lot of our Vermont stakeholders haven't been able to see this in person. They haven't seen the student impact. So to have thousands of folks cheering in the stands, families, friends, educators, state and local government officials, and potential employers, that was astonishing. Most important though, I think when I saw young students come in and their eyes would pop and they would say, wow, this is a possibility for me, that was very inspirational.
Sure, a whole new generation of students invested in robots.
Absolutely.
All right, and we actually, Across the Fence's Caleb May, had a ringside seat at the FIRST Robotics competition to be held in Vermont and filed this report.
The Patrick Gymnasium on UVM's campus has seen buzzer beaters, records, and plenty of other memorable sports moments. But for the first time ever, a whole new sport took to the basketball court.
So this is the first ever FIRST Robotics competition event in Vermont. So this is actually a global organization that has almost 4,000 teams in the world that all compete in the same robotics game. And we're part of the New England district, which constitutes about 190 teams throughout all 6 New England states. There are 9 teams in Vermont, all of which are here today competing, and all of which are actually having a very good competition so far, so it's a pretty good time.
FIRST Robotics has 3 different tiers of participation, with the LEGO League as the starting step, then the Tech Challenge, and finally the FIRST Robotics competition, where high schoolers put their engineering skills to the test in an annually designed game.
The game we have to compete in this year is called Reefscape. It's a water-themed game. The way you score at in the game is you take these PVC pipes called coral and you have to seed them on the reef by placing them on these smaller metal pipes. And the way you're able to actually put the coral on the reef is you have to remove algae, which are these big sort of kickball-looking things, and you can go either score those in the processor, which is a small hatch in the bottom of the field, or you can score them into the barge, which is the big net on top of the field, and that gets you different amounts of points. And yeah, that can influence your ranking at the competition, and whoever has the most points at the end of a match wins the match.
One hopeful champion, Green Mountain Robotics, has brought a little Vermont flair to this year's water game.
Our robot's name is Champ, after the lake monster. We added a little champ face, make it look a little bit more like its name. So we have around 15 students on our team that comes from 4 or 5 different schools around Chittenden County. and there are 14 mentors coming from UVM, Global Foundries, many different companies and STEM organizations around.
Every year, students get the game and the robot guidelines, but that's about it. The robot, the strategy, even some of the parts are up to the students.
There's height limits, weight limits, like there's a certain level of restrictions, but there is a lot of customization within FRC. That's how you see the teams out there. No one has the identical robot. There's certain rules around the price that you can use, the price of a part that you might buy, and I'm not sure that off the top of my head, but there's a lot of freedom, and it makes it really fun because our team, one of the fun things about us is we get to work with our sponsors like Hazlet Script Casting to make professional engineering design drawings, and we get to work with our industry to create custom parts that we know we designed and are all on us, and it's not like we bought them and they're custom off the shelf or anything.
So we focus a lot on making sure our design process is done quickly and effectively. And this year we had a few setbacks. We were a little bit slower, but we've been able to come together and create a strong robot that we're competing with here.
For many, FIRST Robotics has been an integral part of their lives, and some have even been inspired to pursue engineering further.
I've been in FIRST since I was in 4th grade, and I've been going through all the levels, going from Lego League to Tech Challenge to robotics competition. Being able to go through all the levels, I've really found my place, and I should be going to college for mechanical engineering next year. Haven't decided yet, but I'm into WPI, RPI, and RIT. Those are my top 3, as well as UVM.
So the funniest part about that is I had no intent for the longest time. I was an art kid and I was an English kid. Nowhere. 7 years ago, I would have been shocked to hear that I'm planning on going for industrial engineering for next year.
Win or lose, one thing is for certain. Robots in Vermont are here to stay.
I'd say it's been no matter what has happened on the field or off the field, if we won our matches or not, I would say that the fact that we've been able to actually have this event and just be here and actually sleep in our own beds last night and then get to come in here and do this at UVM is rewarding in itself. So no matter what's happening, even if our robot and our actual team has its ups and downs, it's been kind of a roller coaster type of event, we've really been able to take pride in the fact that we're here and we had an impact in making it here.
From the UVM Patrick Gymnasium, I'm Caleb May with Across the Fence.
Thank you, Caleb. That competition looks pretty intense, Mark, and he mentioned some guidelines. So what kind of guidance do you guys have before the competition?
So students are given the game rules on the first week of January, and they have some basic parameters in there, and they've got 6 weeks to design and build a robot that can effectively play the game. The next 6 weeks are spent in competition, traveling around New England and playing dozens of 3 versus 3 matches where you're starting to learn what works or doesn't work with your robot and tweaking your design.
And these aren't coming from kits. That's something that the students are really proud to mention, which is incredible. This is something designed by the kids, that's right?
Absolutely. This is all custom designed. So you'll have teams that begin with 3D models and simulations, and then they start building the robot. So they're learning fabrication, precision manufacturing, building electrical subsystems. On top of all of that, you've got to add the software. So you've got students who are exploring vision systems, autonomous coding. It's really quite impressive. I don't think you could find many companies who could put a project that complex together in 6 weeks. So the passion that FIRST brings out of students is really pretty evident here.
Yeah, that's incredible. And you've been coaching for years. Do kids need to have some innate science or math capabilities before they get involved?
Absolutely not. This is kind of interesting, but different perspectives and different experiences tend to bring out the best in teams. And we find that students have very different ways of learning. So you may have a student who, through FIRST Robotics, can actually apply some of the math and science that they're learning, and they'll discover, I'm actually good at this. I actually like it. It's when they get their heads out of a textbook and put their hands on a robot that things sometimes click.
Yeah, that's incredible. And we heard a number of men and women talking in that video. Are you seeing more boys or girls joining?
It's a very healthy mix in Vermont, especially when we expose students to this at a younger age. I think the program itself also cherishes inclusion as one of its core values, so we tend to get all types of students together in a really welcoming and friendly environment.
And you're fond of saying that you don't use kids to build robots, you use robots to build kids. So what do you mean by that?
Well, in this case, it's really about mentors who are teaching students to lead and learn. And when you think about that in a different way, You've got engagement for hundreds of hours where these students are diving deep in hands-on real learning that's helping themselves and their communities, but we're using robots to do it. So the nice side effect is they're learning pretty deep STEM skills which can actually affect what they're going to do with their education or career, and they're going to become our future Vermont Tech workforce.
And how many students are on a team? Are you seeing that teamwork also become part of the growth process here?
Absolutely. An average team at the FRC level is going to be 15 up to 40 or more students. Specialization is encouraged there, so there's a role for everybody. At the younger program levels, we'll see smaller teams so that teams can have more hands-on experiences and students get to try everything.
Yeah, that's great. And you've worked in tech in Vermont for a while, so what does it mean to you when you see an applicant who maybe had experience on a robot team like this?
Well, we tend to find that their engineering skills have been practiced, which in the end means that they're excellent problem solvers and they're really good communicators. They're also coming in with this concept of gracious professionalism, and that's where you compete as hard as you can, but you respect your competitor, right? And that brought into a workforce creates an amazing culture. What's really cool too is we're hearing from employers in Vermont that these kids are coming in 2-3 years ahead in maturity of other employees, and they tend to advance quickly into leadership roles.
And you talked a little bit about how in these competitions there is a kind of teamwork, not just among your group itself, but with the other people competing. Talk about how that happens.
So you're going to have students who in one match might be playing with each other, and then the next match they're opposing each other. So you'd never necessarily know. So you tend to build these relationships where you help each other out. So if a robot breaks, you'll see everybody come together and try to fix it because you're going to need each other to be successful.
That's incredible. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Absolutely. And one parting thought on this is that, like in most sports in Vermont, there's one little tweak here that's different, and that in this one, every student who participates can go pro.
Oh, that's incredible. Absolutely. And I want to thank the crew behind the scenes here at WCAX who are not robots and who make our program possible. I'm Jolie Whitney. This is Across the Fence. Have a good one.